Welcome, one and all, to the Viper's Nest, where today, as you can see, we are talking about Avatar: The Way of Water, and the one singular problem I have with this movie. So this is not going to be a movie review, because if I tried to review this movie, it would boil down to, I love this movie. It's a great movie on practically every single level. And that's why I feel the need to bitch about it, because usually, at least where I'm concerned, when I'm bitching about something, the more I bitch about it, the more I actually love whatever it is I'm bitching about. And I loved this movie. I highly recommend you go see it because there's going to be quite a few spoilers ahead for what I'm talking about. My big problem with the movie. So let's jump right into it. What is my big problem with Avatar: The Way of Water? It's the fact that it continues to perpetuate the humans are stupid mentality. And before I go any further, yes, I know the point of the movie is that the humans aren't supposed to win. The humans are the invading force who are trying to take away the Na'vi's planet. I get it. They're the bad guys. The bad guys don't win. Fine, whatever. I can accept that. Suspension of disbelief. I get it. I can move on. But I actually can't, because the humans, as presented in the movie, are so incredibly dumb by the way they choose to go about what they end up going about. Okay, so here we're getting into spoiler territory now. So humans are no longer just after the unobtainium that exists on Pandora. They are now there to colonize and terraform Pandora because Earth is well and truly fucked and there's no saving it at this point. So humanity needs a new home. So humanity's gonna show up, kill off all the natives, probably, and then build themselves a new home. And rinse, repeat, do as humans do. So, the movie takes place, God, I don't even fucking know how many years after the first movie. A long-ass time, because I think, from what I remember of watching the first movie, it takes 6 years to get to Pandora. So after the end of the first movie, when they kicked most of the humans off of Pandora for the first time, they had a 6-year journey back to Earth, and then had to prepare to do whatever it is they plan to do, and then another 6 years back to Pandora. So bare minimum 12 years, but it's probably somewhere like closer to 20 because Jake and Natiri's kids are young adults at this point, so either late teens or early 20s, something like that. Whatever. Doesn't matter, except for the fact that it does. Okay, so humans want to take Pandora now, and what they do is they show up, and then they continue to engage against the Na'vi pretty much almost the exact same way as they did in the first movie. Like trying to meet them essentially on the ground, fighting man to man, which they should already know at this point is a losing proposition, which, by the way, no, it shouldn't be. Humanity's superior technology should have given them the advantage over the Na'vi, even though the Na'vi, like man to man, are vastly superior physical fighters, but like I said, the technology should have won out for humanity in the end. Like, the Na'vi met the human forces during, like, the final act of the first movie with a straight-up massed cavalry charge. And, well, there's a reason us humans don't use mass cavalry charges anymore, because cavalry charges kind of get beaten by things like machine guns and heavy artilleries. Like, a perfect example of this from our own history would be in 1575, the Battle of Nagashino, the Oda forces versus the Takeda forces in Japan during the Warring States era. So the Takeda had a absolutely legendary cavalry. Like, they were feared all across Japan. They were some of the biggest badasses of the times. Like, if the Takeda cavalry showed up, pretty much guaranteed the other side was going to either lose or retreat because they didn't want to face that. But here's the thing. Oda was smart about it, and he used alternating volley matchlock rifle fire to absolutely shred the Takeda cavalry. And what I mean by that is, like, you look at, like, the British Redcoats during the Revolutionary War. Like, they would line up all nice and neat, everyone aim their gun, everyone fire at once, everyone reload at once. So, I mean, good. Volley fire, that's fine, I guess. It worked, but what Oda did was essentially have like every other man firing while every other guy next to him was reloading. So rather than just one big volley against the charging cavalry, they were alternating. It was a less heavy but more sustained rate of fire, which absolutely destroyed Shingen Takeda's cavalry. So that right there is a perfect example of why massed cavalry charges don't really work anymore. And then, going back to Avatar, humanity has mech suits with super huge caliber auto cannons and shit. Not to mention just the basic infantry with fully automatic assault rifles should have absolutely annihilated that cavalry charge, whether or not the man-to-man, like the Na'vi warriors, were superior to humans. It's like they already show that bullets work against the Na'vi. It's like the Na'vis aren't freaking bulletproof. That firing line that they had, I mean, granted, it could have been a better firing line, I get that, but still, the point is, against that much sustained firepower, a massed cavalry charge should not have worked. Here I am talking about the first movie when I'm supposed to be talking about the second one. Sorry. I should also preface by saying that I am in no way a tactical or military genius. I like to think that I have a decent head for tactics. But it really, I don't know, conversations like this just make me wish I had my biological dad here who actually has military experience and can pick apart exactly where the humans went wrong against the Na'vi, other than, just being the shitty bad guy invading force to take the resources. Whatever. Okay. Going back to Avatar, The Way of Water. So, humans show back up literally in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and they destroy a gargantuan swath of forest in order to make landfall and start building their new base of operations on the planet. So literally within the first 10 minutes of the movie, we are shown how insanely destructive humans can be just by showing up. Keep that in mind because that's going to be important. So, once humans start, doing as humans do, setting up their base, gathering resources, doing basically any start to any freaking, human-based RTS game you can possibly think of, Jake and the Na'vi natives start fighting back as they do. And luckily they have Jake, because Jake understands pretty well exactly how the humans are going to operate, which leads them to inflicting some pretty horrendous damages on the human settlement. So, the humans decide to answer this by cloning Colonel Quaritch, or Major Quaritch, I can't remember what his rank was in the fucking first movie, doesn't matter. They clone Quaritch and a bunch of other of the Marines that got killed during the final act of the first movie, and then they stick those consciousnesses and those memories into Avatar bodies, and they're going to send out that Avatar special unit to, fight and hunt down Jake. Okay, that's, having a highly mobile, very physically strong, and well-trained special forces. That's not exactly a bad idea, not a bad thing to have. So, during the hunt for Jake and the Resistance, I'm going to call them, Quaritch decides that him and his special units essentially need to do what Jake did and go full-on native in order to combat the Na'vi resistance. No, the fuck you don't! Why would you even think that? Okay, so they determine that Jake and the Resistance are based out of the Hallelujah Mountains, the floating mountains from the first movie where the final battle took place. And, they want to go in and eliminate Jake, which makes sense. You cut off the head of the Resistance, you're going to lose out on all that knowledge of how humans operate. You're still going to have a resistance, but it's going to be less effective. Fine, okay, I get the thinking. But here's the thing. You don't need to preserve the floating islands anymore. Humanity is not just there for the unobtainium that is at the frickin' spirit tree or whatever. Humans don't care about that shit anymore. Humans want the planet. They need the planet in order to have a new home so the human race can continue to exist. So, knowing that, why don't, like, if the whole goal here is to kill Jake, which essentially it is, like, the rest of the Na'vi resistance, that's a secondary objective. They, like, the actual job of Quaritch and his special forces are to kill specifically Jake. Okay, you know Jake's in the floating islands. Why don't you just destroy the floating islands? Just take your big, gigantic fucking ship that burned down the massive swath of forest in literally the first 10 minutes of the movie and just do that to the floating islands. And, alright, so benefit of the doubt here. That ship has already landed. They can't launch it and move it again. But the thing is, like, humans, we're not dumb. We've been figuring out ways to kill each other since, like, I don't know, Adam and Eve, where it was concluded that the 4 humans is too many humans for the planet Earth. Like, humans know how to kill people. Yes, we're insanely destructive just by being. That's what we do. But when we really put our minds to it, we come up with some really fucking inventive ways to kill each other. So just apply that same thinking to the Pandora situation. Like, you have other ships in orbit, and I'm assuming that the concept of an orbital bombardment is not, like, a new school of thought for humans. Like, we have space travel at this point. We probably know how to kill each other in space, or, you know, killing each other while some of us are in space, and then killing the people on the freaking planet. Just, you know, James Cameron, come on, man. The classic aliens school of thought. Nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. It's fine in this particular instance when you need the planet to sacrifice, probably temporarily, a small chunk of the planet in order to have, like, the whole entire thing which you need for later. Alright, let's table killing Jake for the moment, alright? So, they find out later in the movie that Jake is leaving the immediate area because Jake knows that the humans are hunting specifically for him. So he figures if he's not there, that's going to be less heat on the Na'vi resistance. Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Jake, flipping over to the Na'vi side, you're now robbing the forest people's resistance. You're robbing, like, you're leaving, so you're taking your knowledge of how the humans operate with you, so you are already leaving them at even more of a disadvantage than when they started this whole venture. Like, honestly, I think you would have gotten less people killed if you had just stuck around with the forest people and lent your expertise to them than just by packing up and, moving out to New Zealand or wherever the hell you wound up going. Just, whatever, just saying. Okay, back to the humans. So they know that Jake is leaving the immediate area, and they feel the need to pursue him. Why? Just let him go. Like, honestly, if you just let Jake leave, like I said, the Resistance just lost their biggest source of, tactical knowledge. So letting him leave is going to make the battle against the forest people easier. But no, you felt the need to pursue him. So, alright, devil's advocate here. Maybe he's leaving in order to build up an army to come back and kill you all. Alright, fair enough, fair thinking. Still, just let him fucking leave. Because here's the thing. So, they've shown that the humans have these new, like, automated assembly drones that can put together a whole lot of stuff really, really quickly. Alright, cool. So, Jake fucked off for a while. Maybe he's building an army somewhere. Alright. So, instead of spending time and resources going after him, maybe you just hang out at home and do exactly what he was doing to you at one point and make him come to you. So you just, chill out at home and, I don't know, take a page out of, like, Warhammer 40K's book or something like that and build yourself up a fortress city, because that big-ass landing zone where they landed in the first place, they had a whole lot of just flat, empty land around them now, which means that there is no forest for the Na'vi to sneak up on you in. And if they're coming from the air, you're going to see that just as well. So build up those walls, put a bunch of freaking guns on them, and just let the Na'vi throw themselves against your defenses. And I don't know, maybe there's some kind of like doom sandworm that they can tame somewhere that will allow them to like burrow under that no man's land to get at your city. But I don't know, I haven't seen that. Maybe that's going to be in Avatar 3, like the Way of Sand or whatever. Anyway, so back to it. The better tactical choice here, rather than just pursuing Jake across God knows how many miles of this planet, would just be to sit at home and build up your own defenses. And, me knowing both sides, having seen the movie, if you just let Jake stay gone, he would have stayed gone. And that's like best case scenario. So sure, maybe you did build up all these defenses for nothing, but guess what? Now you have an insanely secure beachhead on Pandora that you can now slowly and carefully expand your operations from. And Jake's not there to mess with you anymore. Like, the only thing you've got standing in your way at this point is the forest people in the floating islands, who have now lost their tactical leader and thus are not quite as dangerous for it. I mean, there's still going to be a problem, yeah, but they're a problem you could, take your time with and do the whole game of numbers where you just slowly grind them down. Man, it's just... Things like this frustrate me. Like, I can forgive it in James Cameron's original work, Aliens, because, we had the Colonial Marines, and they're supposed to be in frickin'... Oh, what was his name? I'm forgetting the name of the villain. God damn it. I've been thinking too hard about Avatar. I forgot about Aliens. One second. Carter Burke. I was thinking Carver for some reason. It's Carter. Like, in Carter Burke's own words, these Colonial Marines are some very tough hombres, and then they all get completely slaughtered within, an hour of landing on LV-426. I can forgive that when it was made at the time, because we didn't have a whole lot of lore on the Aliens verse. There wasn't really an Aliens verse to begin with at the time. But now that the Aliens verse has expanded, and we've been shown what absolute badasses the Colonial Marines can be, like Aliens Fire Team, a unit of 3 Colonial Marines easily decimates an entire fucking hive of aliens, and that's not even touching on things like the Berserker teams, which I think I'm going to do a lore video about them later this week. But the point is, we now know what badasses the Colonial Marines are, so going back and looking at Aliens and saying, wow, these guys are just fucking morons, what happened? It's like, I feel the same way I do about that as I feel about Avatar Way of Water, because at this point, humans should know what will and will not work against the Na'vi, because, like I said at the end of the first movie, the Na'vi sent a whole bunch of humans home, so I don't know if any of those humans were, fucking military people or whatever, but the point is, that's a whole lot of people saying, hey, this whole, the way we tried to do things, the way we normally do, didn't fucking work against the Na'vi. They turned one guy, essentially, and completely fucked up our whole operation. So at that point, after all these interviews, when these people get home, whoever the hell's in charge of humanity at this point should be like, all right, so fighting on the ground with soldiers, man-to-man, didn't work. What are we going to do? Oh, I know. Let's upload some consciousnesses into some avatar bodies and then continue fighting, essentially, on the ground, man-to-man. It's like, what is that thought process? They should have been like, all right, so fighting man-to-man didn't work. Let's try a completely different approach, like space superiority, orbital bombardment kind of stuff. Bring in the heavy artillery, the big guns that can fire on a Na'vi position from 10 fucking miles away, and let's just bombard the hell out of them with that. There's so many different ways the humans could have gone about attacking the Na'vi, but they just did a variation on a theme of what they tried in the first movie. Frustrating. As a human, I am disappointed. I mean, granted, as a human, there's a lot of things humans did in Avatar Way of Water that I am very, very disappointed in, but speaking strictly from, the military engagement side of things, I am very disappointed in the humans of this movie. But like I said, I loved this movie. That's why I just spent 20 minutes bitching about it, because I really, really loved it. And God, I hope we don't have to wait for, 2033 for Avatar Way of the Desert or whatever the hell the next movie in this series is going to be, because they definitely set it up for a third movie, and I cannot wait. Anyway, thank you for listening to my rant. I appreciate it. Giving me a like and a subscribe would be much appreciated. Put your own thoughts in the comments. I'd like to see them. I'll see you on the next episode. And as always, have yourself a wonderful day.